One of the really interesting things about the emotion of shame and what makes it so complex is its evolutionary history, because we don't think of it, when we learn about evolution, we think about a giraffe's neck getting longer or something like that. But emotions have evolved too. And the earlier the forms of shame are what we see in dominance hierarchies. So we see in, animals like, well, all animals that when they meet a dominant animal or when they're having a fight with a dominant animal, will then go into submission posture and say, okay, I'm less than you. And I accept that I'm at a lower position than you. And that will end a fight and that'll end aggression. And we see that throughout the entire animal kingdom, from dogs that roll over on their back to primates who do this kind of posture that we do as well when we're in shame. We look down at our feet, we roll our shoulders, and we make ourselves smaller. So that's really the origins of shame. Is comes from that, comes from submission in animal hierarchies. And early humans too were probably quite hierarchical in that way. And then when we became hunter-gatherers, we became much more cooperative, and hierarchies built on aggression no longer worked. We had to cooperate with each other to survive in those environments. And we had to be generous and we had to share, and nobody could really usurp too much of the resources. And so at that point, shame starts being used against people who are aggressive. So people who are too aggressive are then brought down because the community can't have them in the community. And also, people who were going to move towards being aggressive, hopefully, or those that felt shame and who stopped before that happened, would have had a much better network and much more support within their community. So it has this really interesting evolutionary history of having come from a dominance hierarchy on one side and having come from then cooperation. And it still carries traces of both of those things.